You check the clock, 8:47. The meeting started at 8:30. You weren't drunk, you weren't careless. You left the house at what felt like exactly the right moment, and somehow the math betrayed you again. Most people call this a character flaw, a failure of discipline, a small, embarrassing crack in an otherwise functional person. That's not what's happening. Something stranger is going on, something that lives not in your willpower, but in the architecture of your mind itself. In the 1990s, a researcher named Hal Pashler ran a deceptively simple experiment. He asked people to estimate how long a task would take. Then he asked them to do it. The gap between the two numbers had a name long before he studied it. Psychologists call it the planning fallacy, and it isn't a glitch. It's a pattern, almost universal, almost predictable. We don't just guess wrong about time. We guess wrong in the same direction, every time. Here is the unsettling part. The people who are late are not, on average, less intelligent, less responsible, or less caring than the people who are early. In study after study, lateness correlates weakly with personality and strongly with something else entirely. A specific relationship with time, a specific way the brain renders the future. Picture it like this. You are not late because you misjudge how long the drive takes. You are late because your brain doesn't simulate the version of you who hits traffic, who can't find their keys, who gets one more text right as you're walking out the door. It simulates the best case you. And the best case you is always, eternally on time. This is called the planning fallacy's optimistic core, and it isn't a flaw in your imagination. It's a feature of how imagination works at all. To plan a future, the brain builds a simplified model. Simplified models strip away friction. They strip away the version of the world where things go wrong because that version is harder to picture, harder to compute, harder to hold in mind than the clean, frictionless one. You are not lying to yourself. You are running on the only forecast your mind knows how to build quickly enough to act on. But there's a deeper layer beneath this, one that has nothing to do with forecasting at all. In 2003, researchers studying time perception found something stranger still. People who are chronically late often experience time itself differently while waiting versus while doing. Time spent anticipating a task, sitting, dreading, procrastinating stretches. Time spent inside a task, absorbed, moving, doing compresses. Which means the 5 minutes you spent finishing one more email didn't feel like 5 minutes. It felt like 2. And the 18 minutes of silence before you started didn't feel like 18. It felt like 5s. Your perception of time was never neutral. It was warping around your attention the entire time, stretching boredom, swallowing focus, and you never knew because the warping is invisible from inside it. Now widen the frame. Every culture on Earth has its own relationship with punctuality, and the differences are not random. In cultures built around tight industrial schedules, lateness reads as disrespect, even moral failure. In cultures built around relationship and context, arriving on time can read as cold, almost rude, as if the clock mattered more than the person. Time, it turns out, was never a fixed law of human behavior. It was a social agreement. And you have spent your entire life being measured against an agreement you never consciously signed. So look again at the version of you standing at 8:47, apologizing, ashamed, certain that something is wrong with you. That person was not failing at time. That person was a creature running an optimistic simulation of the future, trapped inside a perception of duration that bends without permission, operating inside a social contract invented for reasons that have nothing to do with character and everything to do with control. Maybe the question was never why are you always late. Maybe the question is what it would mean to stop measuring a mind against a machine it was never built to match. The clock does not feel anything. You do. And somewhere in that gap, between mechanical time and human time, is where you have been living this whole time, mistaking a difference in nature for a defect in character.